Okay, we do this one. We do this one in English.
Yeah,
Hein, how do you feel about that?
pretty good.
Yeah,
We'll be fine.
you feel confident?
About as much as ever, yeah.
I haven't traveled for like 1 year, so my English is
Nobody has, right?
nobody
No,
has.
no.
Some people do,
Some people.
but no, we have some talks this week from 9 till 13 December. The Dutch Film Festival is screening some great project films from all different kinds of schools around the Netherlands, and we do some.
We've
Basically, we do
some films and some people to talk to.
Yeah, we have some. We have 3 people to talk to, and today we have Mayis Rukel. Is it correct?
Mayis Rukel.
Rukel.
Yeah.
Mayis Rukel.
And welcome to our podcast, to our experiment in English.
Yeah.
And so basically, you graduated from.
Maybe we should ask, why are we doing this in English?
You.
Oh yeah.
Because of
The guest.
you?
yes.
Yes. Not because you dislikes it. No.
I like it. I like it.
Okay.
I like to be. I like to be put out of my comfort zone.
Yeah.
So welcome. No, we do this in English. Maybe you can explain why we do this in English.
Yeah, we do this in English because I am from Turkey. I moved here in 2015 for my studies at the Gerrit Rietveld Academy in Amsterdam.
Yeah.
And I am learning Dutch still, but I'm not. It would be a less airable version of this podcast if we try to go in Dutch. So yeah.
Yeah. So
We're happy to accommodate.
you graduated. When was your graduation show or moment that you thought, okay, this is the final moment?
Yeah, I mean, because of the pandemic, of course, it was 2 months, 1.5, 2 months later than normal. So it was end of August that we graduated. We took graduation show still with a physical show, which was, I guess, still a privilege in this time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think they did their best. And personally, I didn't have a terrible experience despite the conditions. It's quite fine.
And your film is also in a gallery. I saw it's been done. There was a selection only from the Rietveld.
No, it was actually from all the art academies in Holland. Yeah. Gallery Ron Mandos in Amsterdam, they each year make this selection. They visit all the graduation shows and they have a list of artists. And with the curator Radek Vana, they choose the group they will put on a show that year, and it's called Best of Graduates. So the Pendant was also there with part of the original installation as well. That was until November 20th.
And the movie you made was The Pendant. Is it for you a movie, or is it more than a movie? Because you made some extra stuff around it, I think, and maybe you can tell a little bit about how you see your film or project,
Your work.
Yeah.
And definitely, it is a short film, but it also works in the installation that it was intended to be in, too, with 2 props from the film, and there's also a whole original tarot deck related to the narrative of the film as well. And but I also see it, I mean, when we showed it at the iFilm Museum on the big screen of the cinema, for me, it was also a test to see if it really works separately from the installation. And it was a film. It was a standalone film also at the same time. So it works both ways. But of course, because of the pandemic, now that the festival has to be online and such, preferably a larger screen is better. The film is filled with visual details. But of course, I will adapt like everyone else.
Yeah.
And can you tell me a little bit, why did you choose to come to Amsterdam to study and to do your how do you say, progress as an artist in the Netherlands?
It was partly a coincidence. In 2014, I came to Amsterdam to see the Pride that summer also, and I hitchhiked from Berlin to Amsterdam, and on the way, this orange caravan picked us up, and then there I met some people, and they invited me to their party, and in that party, I met this woman who was a graduate from Rietveld, and during our discussion, she said, we have this school, this department that I graduated in, I think it's really something for you. And then it got stuck in my head for a while, and I went back to Turkey, and it was just a series of coincidences that I just found myself in Gerrit Rietveld, but also, of course, did my research and found that the academy really is a good fit for how I want to approach film. So I didn't go for film academy, more for Rietveld, for maybe this artistic conceptual approach that Rietveld is known for.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I was quite happy, mostly happy with
And
the studies. Yeah,
And which part of Turkey are you from?
Istanbul.
Istanbul.
Mhm.
And you did some studies before, or this is your only first study?
I was doing English literature in Istanbul, but
Basically the same. Yeah.
I was making short films too. Yeah, since I was 16 and such, so I was occupied with film and photography and such. But literature is also an interest to me. Always have been and still is. So English literature was also quite fun. I still have 1 year to finish that studies, and who knows, maybe if I go back to Istanbul for a while,
You're still doing it?
I can go back to it. Yeah.
Go back.
Yeah.
And then you do it here or in Istanbul, or you're not?
I think it would be possible to do it from here as well. I
Yeah.
would just need to attend the exams and such. But that's maybe a far off plan. I think I will probably focus on other stuff before.
And how did you learn the Dutch audiovisual sector? How did you watch that? How did you felt when you came to Holland? How did you connected to it?
Yeah. Did you have an idea about what the sector was and what you want to bring to it, maybe?
Yeah, recently I'm getting to know it more and more. Our studies at Rietveld was a bit isolated from the mainstream Dutch audiovisual industry or the culture, I think. We mainly focused on the concept and the work that we were making. And towards the last years, especially in contact with some of my mentors and teachers who are quite connected with the Dutch film industry, Martin Groteboer, who has his studio in Amsterdam. Through that experience, I got to know a little bit and made a little bit of a network with creatives and skilled filmmakers that I really appreciate, and got to work with at the production of the Pendant as well. So slowly, I guess I don't know if I will end up working really in the industry and find a way to fit somewhere in it, or maybe I will have to carve out the kind of space that I want to be in.
Yeah, because you do a podcast as well.
Yeah.
I tried to I tried to listen to it, but it's in Turkish.
Yeah.
So I can imagine that you have an audience for your work and for the things you do. It's not only the Netherlands. How do you look at it yourself? Is the podcast you do? Is it for where do people listen to it? It's Turkey, Netherlands, or?
Yeah, I do have a podcast, and soon I will have another one with my fellow graduate Lucy Gerard. We're starting our podcast called Soft Edges.
Yeah.
And I think by January we will begin publishing it, and that will be in English. So then you can also listen to it. And I will share it.
And what's the podcast about? Because it talks about talking with the stars or about the stars, but and you have some beautiful paintings and drawings on your Instagram. But can you tell me a little bit about it?
The Turkish one is about different topics in each episode. We named it Conversations Under the Stars or something, because with that friend from Turkey, it was more like the dynamic of our conversations, just about everything and anything that we find relevant or important. But with Lucy, the new podcast in English will be about, we will start with Adrienne Marie Brown's work, Pleasure Activism, and such books or films and artworks that we find relevant or interesting for ourselves. And we will go into like a slow and attentive debate around them, as opposed to the rapidity of how we consume these information on social media. So I'm excited for it. Looking forward to the release of that new podcast. Yeah.
And you won a prize for your film. Can you tell me a little bit how your project started, the Pendant?
Yeah. In 2019, November, I was getting closer to this emergence of this project in a clearer way. I have been collecting many notes and inspirations and ideas, trying to catch them and not lose them, of course. So then I looked at them, I thought about them a lot, I felt around it, I had some conversations, And then I noticed that I had the film actually almost ready to be put on a script. And then immediately I worked on that. And the lucky thing about what I did was I started working really early. And then I had my script ready and the costumes and set design with Sylvia Martes and all the rest, the studios through my teacher, Martin. And all of that came together and I was actually ready to film in January. So then, of course, some mentors said, isn't it a bit early? Why don't you do it in March? That's more normal and such. You have more time to think about it. And then maybe this gut feeling or just this enthusiasm pushed me to film it in January.
Yeah.
So by the end of that month, I had all the footage I needed, which was very lucky given the conditions that took place afterwards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there are some quite heavy subjects in your film. Can you tell me why you choose to do?
Maybe walk us through it.
Yeah.
To
But
begin with, because not everybody that's listening has
No, it's quite
seen
a-
it, maybe.
Yeah,
So-
it's quite a it's
but
it's
not
a
you,
story.
him.
Yeah. No, but I wanna
he needs to-
do short introduction. It's
Okay.
quite it's abstract, but it's also a story. Like it's different stories. Why did you? Can you tell me a little bit which stories they are and why you choose to do more stories in one project?
Yeah, the film is about trying to make systemic violence visible and these dysfunctionalities that cause harm and abuse to us in the system that are designed to do so. Actually, they're doing their job the way they were designed. But it's like an attempt to expose them with absurdity, humor, and magic. For example, it has a critique or play on surveillance technologies, of course, in the border scene in the film, for
Yeah.
example, the biometric data technology and the way the filmic representation of that technology also kind of embeds in us how these technologies work and how we should behave. It's like a self-discipline method, like, oh, of course, you want my fingerprint now.
Mm-hmm.
Here you have it. Or you want to scan my retina, or of course. And for example, the beginning scene with the lightning strikes and this camera moves in this round way around that place.
Yeah.
In the middle, there's like a towering pedestal or something. And there are mirrors and lightning, lights going up and such. And that's a critique on also the Panopticon, jailing system, right? With a tower in the middle that can look into all the round cells around it.
Yeah.
And in the tower, through mirrors and the light play, they make sure that the jailed people can't see if there is someone observing them there. So they start self-disciplining and such. So these kind of techniques of state violence and political disappearances in Turkey in the 90s, EU border politics and power struggles, and in the scene with the Blue Room, there's this very manipulative fable, like this fox story that is the fox whose world is like saturated with this ideology, and we see the dynamics of resistance that creates. Yeah.
And why did you choose to take like 5? They're like 4 or 5, and they're quite heavy, so it's quite ambitious to do that. And why do you want to put them all in one film, and why not like just choose one and
or as separate?
Yeah, a separate part or a separate project. Like why did you put them all? Is it like ambition or like is it a? Can you tell that or?
I had to make a selection out of many ideas, actually.
Yeah.
Okay.
Many ideas that will probably allow me to embark on different films for sure. Just
Yeah.
like you said, because they require their own focus, definitely also. But these scenes that I put in the Pendant, they really connect at a core point. They really share the same place, and this feeling of no exit in that space is constant also with the circle completion at the end of the film.
Yeah.
So then I had to put elements in it that create this structure in that space, in that dreamy space, in that theatrical space. The sets are very theatrical.
Yeah.
So it's like an enactment of these practices of violence, and together they make this richer portrait, I felt. But connecting them was of course tricky, and then I had to put this pendant in it, this round object with these gemstones. And throughout the film, you collect those stones. And there's this idea of compilation, and okay, we take this red one here, the blue one here, the yellow one there. And then you have this pendant again, full in that room that we saw in the beginning.
Yeah.
But that's an object and a figure that's quite ambivalent also. We don't know if it's a malevolent object or if it's a good object, what it represents. It's not even that clear to me as well. But it was a nice connector for all of them. Yeah.
And because it looks really like an ambitious project, and I think it's really well done also in art direction and costumes. Was there a moment that you thought, oh, this is too big or this is too heavy? Because it looks to me like, because you don't have a classroom probably full with people like educated to do that. How did you realize that whole project?
I think by giving it a good 2 months for planning, really serious planning.
Yeah.
Yeah, really realistic, serious planning of what I can do with my resources, with my network, with my ideas. And I trusted in all of them. I trusted in my planning. I trusted in people I wanted to work with, my cinematographer, Mostafa Heravi, my amazing gaffer, Ray van der Bas. I knew that together we could bring this idea and this vision in a plausible way, and I'm more than satisfied with it, actually. So I wasn't really scared. It was ambitious for sure, definitely. It felt like it too. I had to live and breathe 2 weeks in the studio, you know, all about how that goes. But
yeah,
I wasn't afraid. I was hopeful, and then it turned out quite fine too.
And do you get the resource from your school? Because some schools in the Netherlands, they give you some money to do your graduation movie. Some people don't. Is there support from Rietveld? Do you get like a minimum budget to do your movie, or how does it work on this school?
I mean, we have Berlage Fonds.
Yeah.
And you apply for it. I didn't receive it. Some students did.
Okay.
You got a prize afterwards, so.
Yeah.
But it's nice. They support it, but it's limited and it's not so much, especially for such ambitious projects like the Pendant. No, the school wouldn't fund it. No way. And it also wouldn't really feel social. It's a lot of money to make a film like this, of course, as you know. So I had my savings and I received a funding exterior from Rietveld. So that made it possible, definitely. But also my teacher, Martin Groteboer, and his studio, Tungsten Studio, as their student, I was allowed to use that space with much less cost than it would be in a completely professional setting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So everyone was really generous with their help.
And all the other disciplines, you sourced them at Rietveld as well? Like your costume design and your set design, your props, your everything.
Yeah, from Rietveld, but also from Facebook groups as well, professionals. And what was really I think the main reason this project was really costly was because I paid everyone, and I really tried to pay everyone as fairly as I can on a student project level. Mm-hmm. And that costed a lot, of course. But then, of course, people really deserve that with their incredible work. This film is made by a village, of course, right?
Yeah.
So, but it was really nice because I got to, by coincidence, by chance, by network, with just the right people that I needed to make this film. And I had such pleasant experience working with all of them, which I really value also. I want people I work with to be fair, to be kind, to be nice and creative and respectful with each other's time and energy and appreciative, you know. So I look forward to work with them again.
And did you do a lot of these projects before? Because I saw you did some web series, but it was more like dramatic, funny comedy, little bit abstract, but it felt also really how do you say reachable or approachable. What kind of work did you do before this before the Pendant?
The previous year in
Yeah.
Rietveld before the graduation year. We did the project Cut the Mustard with my friend Lucy Gerard again and Vanille Oujang.
Yeah.
And also Juni Moon with the first episode of the series as well. And we really wanted to make a web series, a bit of a comedy, a bit of a drama. And we really formatted the script to the tradition of that. So it's indeed more approachable, but still carries some elements that are very specific to the specific works of this trio that made it. So that was also a combination and collaboration of what we like to do and what we do best.
Yeah.
And I'm really also happy with that work as well. I mean, I can definitely see myself producing audiovisual content as a series as well, be it a series of films or series of short films or just a series, a web drama and such.
Because, well, you're graduated now, have your film out there. What's your next step? Do you have any idea? What's your ambition?
I am currently developing a short and a feature film as well. But I also just rented a workspace close by home.
Yeah.
So I'm also really excited to go back to 3D work that I like to do, the sculptural work, the installations and such. So in the short term, I see myself having a lot of rest. It's been a really intense time for everyone. So, and then I will take this time as like a development period and research for the things that I want to do, because it requires a lot of research from me to create these ideas. So it's a period of a lot of reading, and for the 3D work, I want to do a lot of experiments with material. And currently, I am trying to make that space that I rented a nicer and cozier space. It's an anti-crack. It's quite nice, but it'll get more and more beautiful.
And where would you live in? Rotterdam.
Yes, I moved to Rotterdam after graduation. Yeah.
And how did you feel living in Rotterdam now?
I like it.
Yeah.
I thought I would be depressed after 5 years in Amsterdam and really feeling like that's my home and that's my city. But I also knew that every time I visited Rotterdam, I felt that I left some kind of stress behind in Amsterdam. Maybe that was related to school or whatever I was doing there. But still, Rotterdam is, in my experience, a chill city. Amsterdam is more hectic and crowded and busy, of course, and more intense in some ways. So I quite enjoy it so far.
Hein is from...
I lived there now for 4 or 5 years now. Before that, Amsterdam as well. So it's nice and relaxed, less tourists. So
yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
and I'm looking forward to experience the city after pandemic.
Yeah, it's a good city to be in. Yeah.
And do you think the Pendant will travel worldwide, or is it traveling already, or do you sending it to festivals and stuff like that?
I sure hope so. I mean, I sent it to Berlinale.
Yeah.
DC, some other festivals as well. I would love to show it in Turkey. I would really love to. But I checked a bit, and I checked Istanbul Film Festival and such. I didn't really see submissions, or I don't know what's happening with the pandemic. So I didn't really try anywhere in Turkey yet. And no one approached me yet also from Turkey too. But I would love to show it in Turkey, because I want to see the reactions of a Turkish audience to specific scenes that also derive their root from a more Turkish experience as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And do you think you experience this violence in everyday life? Because it's a lot about the system and your what would you be happy with when this people watch this movie?
I am acquainted with certain state violence, of course, and that maybe that also is what politicizes me and makes me believe that I want to act on this, that I can do something about it, that I want to do something about it. But I would love to create some discussions around the things that I put into the film. Discussions with a Turkish audience, discussions about these disappearances, discussions about our experiences in the borders, not only Turkey, but this entire Middle East and Northern African diaspora as well. So there are things that are recognizable for us, I think, depending on your background. like that scene with the guy disappearing in that cabinet, this magician cabinet trick.
Yeah.
For Turkish people and maybe for Latin American people also, they could see this connotation to these political disappearances because it's in our collective subconscious.
Mm-hmm.
But for example, when I came up with the scene and the film, some of my teachers and mentors in Rietveld, who are from Western Northern Europe, would see it on a surface level and comment like, "Oh, nice use you made of the magician aesthetic," right? So the depth of it, the political depth of it, can get lost a bit on people with different backgrounds. Of course, it's because that's how they are socialized. That's how they experienced state and life so far, maybe.
Yeah.
So with a Turkish audience, I'm curious to test it, to see how it makes them feel.
And is there, because I know some people in Turkey in the film, and I know it's difficult to. There's a big film industry, but it's mainly really commercial. There are a lot of smaller films, but it's really hard to get them financed, and a lot of people even are on a list from the government. They don't get any support. What is there much room for you if you would make this in Turkey? Would that be a problem, or is it safe for you to make it here? How radical is the system at the moment?
That's
with these kinds of things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, one of the reasons I still do this podcast in Turkish with my friend was also, okay, now that I'm in Holland and there are these conversations that I get involved in that I find relevant and important, so how can I carry this in Turkish language to a Turkish audience? That I felt like I wanted to do it. I needed to do it somehow. So in these podcasts too, there are things that maybe would be difficult to initiate in a conversation in Turkey, perhaps. Maybe that's just a perception from now that I'm away.
Yeah.
But I definitely care about that, carrying these conversations and these opinions and ideas and feelings to a Turkish audience. But one of the reasons I decided to stay in Holland after graduation is because the same question that you just posed, I don't know if I have a space in Turkey to make what I want to make, to do what I want to do, to make these films, to initiate these conversations. And that would be a risk. So I guess if I would do something with Turkey and in Turkey, it would have to be initiated maybe in a mutual way and really just like seeing, what do you propose? What can I provide? And then we decide what we do with that. It would be a very careful decision, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. And do you feel that people understand that that as an artist you are under pressure? Because in Holland you can basically do whatever, not whatever you want.
Basically.
Huh?
Yeah, I think so. I hope so.
Yeah, I think there are still some, how do you say?
No-go areas.
No, there's no-go areas, and there are privileged persons that are in a certain environment that they get financed easier than others. But that's more like that's also a system. It's also a system that works in a different way, and I think people trying.
We're not just talking about getting something financed, but being able to make something without the fear of prosecution.
Yeah. So that's
far more important question.
When you came to Holland and in the is it a conversation at the Rietveld, or is it something you bring from Turkey, and is it something that people understand, or sometimes what you say with the magician trick, people even they don't get they don't feel the metaphor or the is it how do people talk about that on the school or with your friends or colleagues?
Mm-hmm. We bring it to the table.
Yeah.
International students from Middle East or different regions, we bring these issues to the table. But in my personal experience is that Rietveld was open to hear and give space. But after all, it's an institution and things change slowly in institutions. So in personal contact with most of my mentors and head of departments and such, they were open to hear these problems that we want to talk about and the things that we want to change in Rietveld as well, in the way Rietveld works as well. They were open to they had ears for what we wanted to say. And I guess there are attempts to change things. So I really like that fact that these conversations and these problems that we are able to recognize and put on the table actually do have an impact, do have an effect. It was quite intense last year in Rietveld also. I think, it's a new time now. People who are embodying the sense of like how things could be actually, how nicer things could be. There's no way in keeping them docile and like, okay, this is how it always have been. This is the tradition. So now shut up and keep doing what we always did. People aren't happy with that anymore, I think. And I really like that change. The change to demand more and demand better, and institutions having to respond to that. Yeah.
Yeah, on several levels, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And is it something you want to continue this conversation with Rietveld, or you think, okay, I've been there, new generation, new students, I go on my mission, or you still feel related to this institution?
I feel a kinship to this institution still. I still feel connected. We actually, with fellow alumni, we have a group. We have a WhatsApp group that we discuss these developments. We have regular Zoom conversations around these and what we can do, what we can propose, what we can change, what we can do better. So there's a group of alumni with me who are still engaged, who still care about making this space better. With the unions we have at school as well now, Middle East Union, Black Students Union, Asian Union they still actively work, even if a big body of them consists of already graduated students. And I want to be involved in Rietveld for sure. I like my school, I liked it. And I want things to be better for the future students and for future mentors and teachers as well.
And what are the things that really could be better then? Because in the other conversation we had with Linus was about the Royal School of Art in Rotterdam or The Hague.
Yeah.
He's studying.
But he wasn't as fond of his school as you are now.
No.
He felt he missed a lot.
But he
wasn't able to create it. But I feel from you that the Rietveld is much more approachable for change, I think, for input. But it's a nice thing to. Well, it's not nice to see, but it's funny to see that both schools are not exactly what the students want from the school. Maybe.
Yeah, but
so that's but is that? Yeah, I never went to school, so I don't know.
I never.
You never went to school either, so.
But
we don't know.
I can imagine it is an institution, but I'm curious about what the changes, what kind of changes you propose to them.
I feel
like practical, like if we go to the practical stuff, what would be easy to change?
Easy to change, I don't know, but I think these institutions, they also have their self-perceptions. So I don't know about that other school you just mentioned, but I think Rietveld, in my observation, has a self-perception of being this very up with the times, frontier, avant-garde art school, and who wants to follow all the developments and be one with the time, and or even like participate in shaping the future and such. So that's like the mentality that is forming around this institution. But of course, it doesn't always match the physical or social reality of the school as well. I think Rietveld definitely has to be a bit more diverse in teaching staff as well. I think should be much more flexible change in teachers and mentors. New people should be able to come and replace, and there should be a more systemically embedded way of dealing with problems and harm and abuse and complaint. That was very weak in Rietveld. They tried, but I mean, I also had my personal experiences, and that can be improved. But they are trying. I mean, now that in 2020, they have this new protocol about dealing with complaints and harm and abuse too. So that's really nice. They have a now external body, like a committee who will deal with that. So it's going better. It's getting better because we are pushing for it. And sometimes it's tricky. Sometimes they resist. But that's the future. And anything who wants to survive should just adapt, right?
Mm-hmm.
In some ways, yeah. So I think it's going to a better direction.
And you wanna show your film in Turkey. do you think you will do a film in Turkish as well, or you want to continue in
This was
English?
Part
It's-
Turkish.
Yeah, okay, but not
Right?
total.
No. Okay.
Yeah, the feature film I'm working on now, I think at least will be part Turkish and might be part Dutch as well. I think the subject, the family that I'm creating and focusing on might have to had moved to Holland at one point for certain reasons. So then I can also infuse my experience in Holland, the 5 years and the future years,
Yeah.
and my background in Turkey. I find that interesting, and how to deal with the reflections of being from there, being from here, and intersections of those two socializing methods and politics.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think that's the plan. Yeah.
But yeah, but I showed you in the web series you act as well.
Mm.
So will it, you will be acting in your own movie then? How do you, because you feel for me your the way you work, the way you look about every detail in your projects. You feel like a how do you say 360 artist. I don't know if I can talk.
Well-rounded artist.
Well-rounded.
Maybe.
I feel so stupid in English with this well-studied
feel a
English
kinship?
Huh?
Do you feel a kinship? Because you, Julius, are also now a filmmaker, but you've acted as well.
No,
You've
but
played shawarma seller
shawarma.
number
No,
one
but
and
not like
pizza
this.
baker number two.
Not
so
like this.
Okay.
No. No, I think you have how do you say? A lot of people are they are actor or they are director or they're producer, but you feel like someone who's creating his own environment and creating his own projects to do what you want. And sometimes these projects fail in craftsmanship, but it feels like you have a multiple talents. And how do you see this acting? Because you are kind of you have some characteristics that are nice to watch in this web series as well. So how do you look to that?
Yeah, I don't really have an ambition to follow acting in a professional way. I think I would act in my film or in a collaborative project if it calls for that, if I can really bring something to that character or that storyline. But I think with this film that I'm working on, I don't really have a place to be in it myself. And that was also the choice with my graduation film. I chose not to be in it, so that I can also just really control everything in constructing this environment, this atmosphere.
Yeah.
And with the web series, that was more, we actually kind of acted ourselves a bit with the friends we made the series with. So in that sense, it fit and it feels right, but not always will feel right with me. I also really enjoy working with professional actors. The magic they bring to the camera immediately, the way they conjure this character, it's like this person is real suddenly. I think that's just something magical and requires a lot of training and talent, of course, that I don't see myself really going to for many years. Will be more about films and other kind of artworks.
And what is the 3D? You talk about 3D artworks. What's that? It's more like drawings or 3D. What can I imagine? Sculptures or.
Yeah, recently I'm again interested in drawing as well. I love drawing. I drew so many years. I always enjoyed it. But my second and third year in Rietveld, I also did quite some sculptural experiments too, and I really enjoyed that too. The last year, graduation year, I really wanted to be back in my element with all that I learned all these years. So that's why I went with film. But I really enjoyed working with sculptural elements too, and that's I think what I will go with. And the project that I am now developing relates to the thesis I wrote in my graduation year in Rietveld. It was titled "Mothers, Mirrors, and Existential Methods." So yeah, I will kind of see how that entire theory and research can embody a physical form somehow. that will be the work. Yeah.
Okay.
It's quite a lot.
Yeah.
And how do you see this world of art? Because like you have film, you have the galleries, you have I have made like a few experimental films, and it was in the beginning, and then it was hard to find like a distribution platform because it's some things needs to be approachable to be released or to be distributed.
There's no clear infrastructure, I think.
Yeah. How do you feel? How do you see that for your future? How do you say? How do you relate to that subject?
Yeah, I think I want to carve out myself a space in both gallery and a more cinematic environment like festivals or cinema and such. I don't know if there should be a distinct distinction between them, but still I feel like I do like having my work in a gallery space, in a white space or whatever space that is, that I feel a bit more intellectual in a sense that it usually accompanies a publishing and some lectures around it as well. So I really enjoy that discussion and this work taking space in that specific environment and such. But I also really enjoy the idea of showing my film in a festival and the conversations that go around that as well. So I hope I can carve myself a career, a profession in these two fields somehow. Or perhaps on the way, I will notice that one of them will fit me better, and then I will focus on that. But so far, I feel quite compatible with both fields. I didn't feel strange being in the gallery, and it feels very nice to be in the festival as well.
And what could be helpful? What could be helpful to how do you say to make your development a little bit faster? What?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if I can be helpful. Maybe I can be helpful. Maybe people who listen to this can be helpful. But
I'm going to release a film of a Rietveld alumni. It still needs to be made. Guido van der Werven. He does a whole series of films, and he's been mostly in galleries. Yeah. And now he's doing his first feature type film. Done Yanis Rafa last year, Kala Azar, Greek-Dutch film, which is also, she has a gallery background. She's a visual artist, but made a feature with a narrative, be it small, but there was a narrative, but it mostly focused on the picture. So there are possibilities. There is funding, especially with the film fund, the verbeelding, I think.
Yeah. No, but I was curious if you
there's a lot of possibilities.
If you look like, okay, if I could talk to this person, or you don't feel like a person that is shy to do anything, but what's in your mind? What do you think about? Okay, if I could do this, then maybe my project of my ideas would be able to grow.
The thing is, in Rietveld in the last year also, there was a really good conversation I had with a mentor, because just like I said, the previous year I had a collective work, not a personal work. And with my teacher, we also discussed how we are so sick of the myth of this single artists being like, and my work, this is my work, my idea, my success, it's me, my name, know me and such. And how bored and sick of it we are a little bit. And it's really, for me, my career development doesn't have to be fast or doesn't have to be very individualistic in a way. I don't have to become this director and this artist, and these ideas that I have that I'm now working on should also feel good for some others to embark on together, I feel, and then we can do something together with what we bring to the table, I feel. That's why, just like you said in the beginning of your question, just like you said, it's through people and through getting together and wanting to do something together, and then joining this project together. I think these things, like for example, funding for me is not something scary.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I can always arrange savings and see what I can come up with. But then there, of course, just like you mentioned, there are some fundings in the Netherlands still, quite some helpful fundings. These things don't really scare me so much or feel like a block on the path. I feel like if the project is right, if it really speaks something, if it's relevant somehow, if it will be helpful or useful or interesting or make someone feel something and change something, then people will probably, it will be easier to make people gather around it and actualize that project, I feel. So I don't really know what would make things easier, but I think what would definitely make it more enjoyable is to connect more.
Yeah. And what could be helpful to connect at this moment, because connection is a lot of physical connection is getting less these days. But what would help you to connect? What would
I mean, normally it's like this steady, normal socializing, right? And you meet people, but even through the pandemic, I was really lucky and super privileged to the Rietveld Award itself, and then the Best of Graduates show from Ron Mandos, and now Netherlands Film Festival, and this podcast we're making now. These things definitely helped a lot, and it really broadened my network very quickly. It kind of bloated it immediately, and that's been really helpful, of course. Now there are people that I know that I want to get to know better and know what we can do together and have a feel around where we can move together and such. So these kind of exposure really helps. And I think these platforms are really useful for launching the careers of new artists and connecting them to other people.
So you're opening up your own studio space and releasing a new podcast in January. Releasing your film in Turkey, hopefully in 2021. New web series as well, or not?
Not in the plans.
Not in the plans?
Perhaps, yeah.
And is there some? Did you know the Dutch Film Festival before? Yeah, you visited as well, or?
No, I haven't visited before.
No,
but I knew about it, of course.
Are you going to watch all the other movies, or?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Good.
Exciting.
Hein? What would you?
I'm not gonna watch them all. No.
No.
Maybe.
What do you think about our English experiment? Do you think people? Because I feel that he is much more. No. The thing is that it feels like he's much more. Probably he is more intelligent.
Probably, yeah. He finished
definitely
school.
He finished his school, maybe two.
Yeah, he speaks several languages.
But what do you think about the conversation in English?
It went okay. Yeah.
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 What,
right.
What
well, you're obviously used to expressing yourself in English because your whole experience for the last 5 years was in English.
Yeah.
So
that's the most important. We're not important here.
No, I know, but we asked the question. We asked the questions, but it feels for me it feels a little bit like, is it like if I'm making?
We're fine.
Yeah, we're fine.
Yeah,
you think we're fine?
We're not going to do this on a weekly basis, but we're fine. Yeah.
Super nice questions, really nicely communicated, I think.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very
well
much.
done.
Thank you so much for this.
Thank you very much.
Good luck. You'll be fine. We'll all be fine. Yeah. There's going to be a vaccine, so we'll be fine.
Yeah, and just watch the Pendant. Watch all the details. We didn't talk about the tarot, but it's a big, how do you say, example for me that you want to control the details in every aspect of your movie. So thanks very much.
Yeah, you can watch the film on the film festival platform, I think.
Yeah.
And it's probably going to be released on YouTube, Vimeo, or whatever.
Yeah, you can follow the updates on my website as well, mayisrukel.com. That's where I share most of the news.
We'll mention that in the comments.
Yeah. Okay, so thank you very much, people. We will have one other conversation today, so follow the CutCast, and we will be back.
Bye.